Emily and I first crossed paths about 7 years ago, quickly becoming close friends. Both of us grew up in the Midwest, where our devout Christian upbringing taught us to place God above everything, even family. Our Sundays were dedicated to church visits and hopeful discussions about our future plans. I pursued a successful engineering career with bright prospects, while Emily excelled in her role selling accounting software for a major technology firm in Atlanta. Before we got married, my parents generously gifted me a 3-bedroom house upon my college graduation. They preferred to share their wealth during their lifetime, rather than wait until they passed away. Mom and Dad found joy in giving while they were still around. Emily and I exchanged vows just over 5 years ago, and it felt like an endless honeymoon ever since. Our intimate life was passionate, with encounters at least 4 nights a week. Our friends often teased us, envious of our closeness, seeing us as soulmates. Our joy multiplied when we welcomed 2 beautiful blonde twin girls into our lives. After their arrival, our focus shifted entirely to raising them in a nurturing and loving environment. Some might have found our lifestyle dull. We usually dined at home most evenings, reserving Friday and Saturday nights for outings, and Sundays for church. Unlike our peers, we weren't interested in socializing or keeping up with fashion trends. Emily preferred conservative attire both at work and at home, and we reserved our intimate moments exclusively for our bedroom. Our marriage was built on trust and transparency, forming a solid foundation. Emily was naturally affectionate, expressing her love through tender gestures, kisses, and hugs, which I adored. We shared our emotions openly and cherished each other deeply. Raising twins was challenging, but I treasured every moment with them. While the twins sometimes stressed Emily, I was always there to support her through any difficulties. Our partnership relied on effective communication, ensuring we addressed issues promptly. Life with Emily and our twin girls was smooth and fulfilling. However, a week before the annual exhibition, Emily was notified that she had to participate because several colleagues had fallen ill. Despite her efforts to decline, she had no choice due to the urgency. She expressed her regret, saying she hated being away from us and had tried to avoid it by contacting her boss. I reassured her that we would manage fine without her for a few days and that we would miss her dearly. I helped her pack and accompanied her to the limo arranged by the company for her airport journey. Our marriage had always been solid, built on trust and transparency. There had never been any indication of Emily behaving in a way that wasn't loving or faithful. We shared everything openly and worked together as a team, especially when it came to our children. On the second night of the exhibition, I received a text from Brian, a colleague and friend who was at a cybersecurity event in Atlanta. He mentioned seeing Emily at the exhibition and asked if I was supposed to be at the security conference. He seemed curious about the trade show Emily was attending, and I confirmed it was in Atlanta, though I wasn't sure of the exact name. Brian's messages left me wondering what he was trying to imply. His message contained 2 photos and a video. I sat paralyzed with dread as I opened them. The first photo showed my wife in an outfit I didn't recognize, the shortest dress I'd ever seen her wear, accentuating her ample chest with a plunging neckline. She wore pumps I didn't recognize, her hair and makeup flawless, radiating stunning allure. Never had she appeared so alluring to me. At first, I convinced myself it must be someone resembling Emily. It seemed implausible it could be her. I chuckled inwardly, thinking, I wish Emily would dress like that one day. But the amusement faded with the next photo, a close-up of her seated next to Andrew, one of her bosses. I sat there, stunned and motionless, not even blinking until the next photo appeared, a close-up of her smiling and gazing into Andrew's eyes. My heart sank at the sight. Though I tried to rationalize that there must be a logical explanation, it felt futile. The following message contained a brief video clip showing my wife kissing Andrew, her arms wrapped around his neck while his hand rested on her right breast. In that instant, my world collapsed. Tears of anguish streamed down my face, my heart raced, and a wave of nausea engulfed me. A message came through. Hey, are you okay? What should I do? Can you see her right now? I replied, yes, I'll give her a call right away to check on her. I dialed her number, hearing it ring several times before reaching voicemail. Leaving a message, I expressed our longing to speak with her and hoped she was having a pleasant evening. I updated Brian. I just tried reaching her. What happened? Brian's remorse was palpable. Michael, I'm sorry about this. She took her phone out of her purse, glanced at the caller ID, then returned it to her purse. I can't believe it's her. I've never seen her behave or dress like this before. Brian, it's okay. Thank you for being upfront with me. You're a true friend. I'll handle this myself. If possible, avoid confronting her. Keep me informed if anything else occurs. But don't waste time trailing her. I'll handle it from here. Are you going to be okay, buddy? No, I'm far from okay, but I know what I need to do. I'll handle it. I'm still reeling from the shock, but I'll come to terms with everything. Thanks again. Anytime. I'm here for you. Take care of yourself. Thanks once more. I poured a stronger drink and sat in the dimly lit living room, grappling with the sudden collapse of my world in under 20 minutes. I had been oblivious to any issues in our relationship. How long had this been going on? Was I truly oblivious to the signs? No, she never gave me cause for concern. In fact, over the past 6 months, our bond had grown stronger, our closeness intensified. None of it made sense, leaving me bewildered. In the following hour, Brian sent more photos and videos. A brief clip showed them dancing, his hand on her back. Another captured them kissing on the dance floor. A photo depicted a deep, private kiss on a deserted dance floor, oblivious to the music's end. I acknowledged it was over between us. I had so much to process and understand. Using my analytical skills as an engineer, I spent the next few days crafting a detailed plan. Then, unexpectedly, Emily called me around 10 p.m., just after I received the damning final photo. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my nerves, determined not to reveal any knowledge of her betrayal. Hey there, sorry I missed your earlier call. I was at a dinner meeting and couldn't step away. I miss you so much, baby. I wish I could be there with you, snuggled under the covers and showering you with kisses. I miss you too, Emily. I love you deeply. Thanks for calling. The girls are doing great. I'll send you some photos. They miss their mom and can't wait for you to come home. I tried to leave tomorrow, but my boss insisted I stay. I hate being away from you, darling. We'll celebrate when I get back. Are you done for today? Yeah, I'm winding down for bed after a long day. Love you, baby. I'll call you tomorrow. Good night, Emily. I love you more than words can express, I said, hanging up as tears welled in my eyes. Despite everything, my love for her was genuine, and I desperately hoped this was just a terrible dream. Lying in bed past midnight, I couldn't sleep, tormented by thoughts of whether she was really in her hotel room and what she might be doing. My fears were confirmed when Brian sent another message. It was a photo of Emily and Andrew on a lobby sofa, kissing. His hand was beneath her short skirt, her arms draped around his neck. They looked like a couple madly in love. And one last thing, buddy. I'm done for today, but it looks like she's busy. Let me know if you want me to stop. I can easily put an end to this. It's tough to face right now, but thanks for the photos. No need to stop. Let her be. It's her fault, not yours. Stay out of it. Thanks again. I cried myself to sleep, the realization of my wife's betrayal cutting deeply. Eventually, exhaustion and the presence of our daughters provided some solace, easing the pain and tears until I woke up the next morning. Emily had sent me several affectionate messages filled with hearts, kisses, and emojis. She professed her love, saying how much she missed both me and the girls. She even hinted at a passionate night when she returned. When she came back, she was all sweetness and affection, acting as if nothing had happened. I began to question if she had some sort of dissociative disorder or was on some medication. Despite my desperate search for explanations, I realized I had to face the harsh reality and prepare for her return home. Our conversation seemed normal, with Emily expressing her longing to be with us again. I couldn't decide what hurt more, her infidelity or the web of lies she had spun. The betrayal stung as deeply as seeing her with Andrew. After learning of my wife's infidelity through Brian's messages, I knew I had to act decisively. Using my tech skills, I discreetly installed tracking software on her phone, initially intended for locating lost devices. I chose the latest software available and even walked Emily through its setup. This software also had a voice recorder that could capture calls, texts, and emails, with automatic cloud uploads if activated. Let me be clear, I never intended to spy on her, but circumstances forced my hand. Before this, I would never have considered invading her privacy. However, given recent events, my trust was completely shattered. My priority was to protect our daughters and, if possible, salvage our marriage. Thankfully, taking care of the twins kept me occupied, offering a distraction from the relentless thoughts of our crumbling relationship. Whether it was making breakfast, cleaning up after them, or playing with their dolls, these moments were precious amid the turmoil. Trust me, looking after 3-year-old twins is no small feat. At 2 p.m., I finally got the girls down for their afternoon nap. After tidying up the house and taking a shower, I sat at the table to catch up on things. Emily had sent me 6 more affectionate messages, saying she would call at 5 p.m. once her day ended. After reading them, I accessed the cloud from my laptop, logged into her account, and reviewed everything recorded since I activated the tracking software. I was in shock as I read the messages exchanged with Andrew. Here are a few excerpts. "You were incredible last night, baby. Can't wait for tonight. Thanks, kitten. I enjoyed it too. Can we head to my room after work before dinner? Of course, but I need to call my husband first. I should be ready by 5:15. Does your husband suspect anything? Of course not. He thinks I love him, and I'll keep it that way. We've kept it a secret for over 6 months, and he's clueless. Don't worry." My rage grew overwhelming, forcing me to stop reading. Kitten? Did he call her kitten? That was my term of endearment for her during our intimate moments. Had she given him that too? Was I truly that blind? What kind of fool was I? I dropped my laptop on a chair and screamed, grabbing a lamp from the table and throwing it against the wall, shattering it into pieces. The rage I had managed to control now consumed me. Just as I was about to break another lamp, I heard the girls crying. Their cries snapped me back to reality, and I regained control. I rushed into their room, holding both girls until they calmed down. After cleaning up the glass from my outburst, I let them play in the living room while I sat with another strong drink, reflecting on my actions. In my mind, the marriage was beyond repair, and it was time to act. I didn't have the strength to listen to their conversations or review any more files, so I let them accumulate in the cloud. I decided to play along with Emily just as she had deceived me. My immediate plan was to act like a loving husband while I strategized my next steps. I intended to contact a divorce lawyer, hire a private investigator, and find a way to secure custody of the girls. Their well-being was my top priority and the only thing that truly mattered to me. Hey, sweetheart, how are the girls holding up? They're missing their mommy. Oh my goodness, they're on my mind all day, every day. And of course, you too. I can't wait to wrap my arms around you when I get back. I'm going to give you the warmest kiss you've ever had. I kept up the act, saying, "Oh, darling, I think of you constantly, longing to hold my beautiful, loving wife. Soon, my love, we'll be together again." Somehow I managed to keep it together for the entire 15-minute call. At 5:15, she signed off with, "I love you, Michael. I have to go catch the bus back to the hotel. I'll message you later. I love you." Another effortless lie. She was quite skilled at it. "I love you too, sweetheart. More than you can imagine," I replied. The pain of her deception had morphed into a mix of contempt, anger, and a burning desire for revenge. I was determined to unmask her lies and make her accountable. My love for her had been all-consuming, making her betrayal that much harder to endure. At the airport, she greeted me with an embrace and a kiss, just as she had promised. Either she was an extraordinary actress, or she genuinely cared for me. Was her affair with Andrew purely physical? Her behavior left me confused. She spent an hour with the girls, genuinely enjoying their company. That night, she was exceptionally affectionate in bed, repeatedly telling me how much she missed me and the girls, and how she hated being away. She said she wanted nothing more than to be with me, holding each other in bed. She was tender and loving, a stark contrast to the woman I saw in the photos and videos. I reciprocated her affection, hoping against hope that this was real because being with her was all I desired. Yet deep down, I knew it was only a matter of time before it all unraveled. I kept my newfound knowledge hidden, showering her with love and attention. To outsiders, our relationship seemed perfect, envied by many. This charade went on for 3 months, during which I found no signs of further infidelity. She came home from work at the usual time every evening, and there were no suspicious calls or messages. I even dared to hope that perhaps it had all been a terrible mistake and that things would return to normal. Then, I received a call from Mr. Collins, a private investigator, who wanted to meet the next day. I drove downtown to his office and sat in their conference room. "Good afternoon, Michael. Good to see you again," Mr. Collins greeted me. "Likewise, Mr. Collins." Michael, I wish I had better news, but unfortunately, I have some bad news to share. Are you ready to review our findings? I sighed and nodded, bracing myself for the worst. Mr. Collins placed a thick binder in front of me, labeled with sections for text messages, voice transcripts, video calls, phone call transcripts, and photos. Mr. Collins, I'm confused. I've been closely monitoring her activities and schedule for the past 3 months, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. She's been the perfect wife and mother. None of this makes sense. Let me walk you through the evidence. Maybe it will help clarify things, Mr. Collins offered. I had avoided accessing the cloud files, hoping for a positive outcome, but my hope was dashed. There were over 75 pages of text messages, 25 pages of emails, and 75 pages of time-stamped photos of them entering and exiting hotel rooms. Additionally, there were over 82 video calls and 50 pages of phone conversations. Emily and Andrew had been meeting at a motel at least 4 times a week for the past 3 months, spending an average of 2 hours together each time. It seems that for the past month, 2 men have been meeting your wife 4 times a week. Do you recognize this man? Mr. Collins asked, pointing to a photo. Oh my God, is that Mark Spencer, the CEO of her company? Are you telling me she's involved with 2 men, one of whom is her CEO? I'm sorry to say this, but based on the evidence from text messages, phone calls, and videos, it's clear she's involved in a sexual relationship with both men. The video call labeled Balcony shows her with Mark in an intimate moment, unaware they were being recorded. Our high-definition video captured their faces and the audio. Mr. Collins played the video on a large screen. There was Emily, leaning over a balcony railing, with Mark behind her. I felt a wave of nausea and had to step out of the room to compose myself. After a few minutes, I returned, urging them to continue. The video labeled Balcony 2 shows your wife with both Mark and Andrew. I'm sorry you have to see this, but these videos can be used if you decide to proceed with divorce and custody battles. I sat there, stunned and disbelieving. Could this really be Emily? I desperately wanted it to be a mistake. Michael, we've looked into Andrew Scott and Mark Spencer. Andrew has been married for 10 years and has 4 young children. Mr. Spencer has been married for 25 years and has 3 grown children. Text messages reveal that Andrew introduced Mark into their activities after your wife expressed interest in a threesome. It's grim, so we'll leave you to review it when you're ready. Here's the folder and a USB drive with all the files and videos your lawyer will need. When I met with my lawyer, she was shocked at the mountain of evidence. She couldn't believe there had been no prior signs of infidelity at home. Emily continued to play the devoted wife and mother, acting as if everything was normal. The lawyer outlined various legal options based on the evidence but needed time to fully explore our options, scheduling another appointment for the following week. I instructed her to start filing the divorce papers as soon as possible. Leaving the lawyer's office, I felt a heavy weight in my stomach. I knew it was over before these meetings, but watching those videos crushed any hope of reconciliation. I was still in shock. Who was this woman? Later that evening, after putting the girls to bed, we decided to watch a movie on Netflix. I heard Unfaithful is a good film. Let's give it a try, I suggested, hitting play, fully aware of the film's theme of infidelity. I had rehearsed my approach. During the movie, I casually mentioned a female intern at my office who had been showing interest in me for months. Can you picture me with another woman? I chuckled, trying to sound nonchalant. Emily's eyes narrowed. Really? Who is she? If I even suspect you thinking about her, I'm gone. Got it? You're mine and no one else's, she declared, her voice edged with a surprising intensity. Her fierce reaction was almost laughable given her own actions. Michael, why didn't you tell me about her sooner? What's her name? She pressed. Emily, calm down. She's just an intern, a young girl who's been flirting a bit. I've ignored her completely. What about you, Emily? You're the most attractive woman in your office. Are you telling me no one ever flirts with you? Of course not. They all know I'm married and would never cheat on you. So in our entire marriage, you've never once thought about being with another man? Not even a harmless kiss? Have you ever cheated on me, baby? I asked, looking directly into her eyes. Her face flushed with anger. Are you serious? How can you even ask me that? I constantly show you how much I love you. I've always been faithful. I can't believe you'd think otherwise, she snapped. I apologized, agreeing with her to keep the peace, and we resumed watching the movie. Internally, I marveled at her performance. She could have been an actress with how convincingly she lied, Once she seemed to settle back into the movie, I decided to take the next step. I grabbed my phone and opened the messaging app, finding a photo of Emily and Andrew kissing passionately on the dance floor, his hand firmly on her behind. I stared at the photo, waiting for the right moment. "What are you doing, Michael? Why aren't you watching the movie?" "Because what I'm looking at is far more real." "What do you mean?" I muted the movie and held up the photo for her to see. She froze, words caught in her throat. I kept my eyes on the image. "Quite the passionate kiss you're sharing with Andrew. Care to explain?" "Where did you get this?" "You were having dinner with Brian Stanton, who saw you with this man. He sent me this to confirm if it was you." "And it is you, isn't it? I have to say you look quite stunning in that dress. Never seen you wear anything so revealing. Were you trying to impress your boyfriend?" "Go ahead, I'm listening," I said, my voice dripping with sarcasm. "Michael, we only had one dance and he was drunk. After the song he grabbed me and kissed me. What you don't see is that I slapped him right after and caused a scene. I would never allow that. I bought this dress for a business dinner, not realizing how revealing it was." "I'm so sorry," she stammered, looking desperate. "All right, I understand. It happens. And that was the only incident." "Yes, and he won't try it again." We resumed the movie, but I could feel her tension. After a few minutes, I pulled out my phone again, this time playing a video of them on a couch, his hand wandering under her skirt. She noticed, and her face turned pale. "What are you watching now?" "Remember that night you called, saying you were getting ready for bed after a long day?" "Yes," she whispered, almost inaudibly. "It's interesting because I received another message from Brian 2 hours later. This time, it was a video. Would you like to see?" I pressed play, showing her and Andrew kissing, his hands all over her. "I'd love to hear your explanation for this," I said, my anger now replaced by cold amusement. "Michael, I'm so sorry. After we spoke, Andrew called saying we needed to discuss a client issue. He asked me to meet him in the lobby. I had a few drinks and got a bit tipsy. You know how I get. Nothing happened beyond what you saw. I told him to stop and reminded him I'm married. Please believe me." "Kitten," I said, emphasizing the pet name. "The problem is I've always believed you, but in the last 20 minutes you've lied to me twice. Can you see my perspective? I'm here alone, and the woman I love is kissing her boss in photos and videos, wearing the most revealing outfit I've ever seen. How do you think I feel?" "Michael, I love you. This happened months ago. Why didn't you confront me sooner?" "Honestly, I wanted to see if you'd come clean. I wanted to believe my wife was truthful and transparent, but now I see where we stand." "Are there any other lies? Are you involved with him? Do you love him?" I asked, toying with her, enjoying her discomfort. She began to sob, repeating how much she loved me. "Please stop telling me how much you love me. I need answers. Are there other deceptions?" "Michael, hear me out. Nothing beyond a kiss happened. I admit I kissed him, but that's all. I told him to stop every time. I don't know what Brian saw, but you have to trust me." "Okay, stop crying. I trust you, but I'm puzzled. You never dressed like that for me, nor did you style your hair and makeup that way. Was it for him? Do you have feelings for him? Are you considering leaving me?" "Emily, please, I need the truth." The tears flowed again. "No, Michael. My love is only for you. I never want to lose you. Nothing happened. I don't know why I dressed like that. Maybe because other women were dressed similarly, and I felt insecure. But I promise, nothing more happened." "I can understand that. But why didn't you tell me about Andrew and your interactions if nothing truly occurred?" "I didn't want to upset you. He's my superior and I couldn't risk losing my job. If anything serious had happened, I would have told you right away. You understand, don't you?" she pleaded, her voice trembling. I comforted her with a kiss and held her gently as she cried. This was the start of my month-long plan for revenge. That night we made love, and I detached myself, imagining I was one of her many lovers. I refused to deny myself the pleasure of her body or warn her about what was coming. Her acting was impeccable, but I was indifferent. She was more passionate than ever, trying to convince me of my exclusive place in her heart. This routine continued for weeks. Each night her performance was flawless, and I simply enjoyed the spectacle. The next morning, I checked the cloud for any new messages with Andrew. Predictably, she didn't disappoint. "Oh my God, someone took photos of us at the fair and sent them to Michael. His friends saw me at the restaurant without Michael. I'm unsure if he's aware, but the video showed us kissing. Damn. Now that you mention it, I recall a man with a phone across from us observing, but I didn't think much of it. How did Michael react? Nothing. I convinced him nothing happened. I told him I was drunk, and he believed me. A few kisses and good lovemaking always work. Be cautious, baby. We agreed to meet tomorrow at 1 p.m. as usual. Can't wait. Love you, baby. Love you too, kitten. That marked the final message, and I sat silently, absorbing it all. I felt like the world's biggest fool, but there was a certain satisfaction in planning my revenge. I took pleasure in watching Emily's antics and waited to see how many more lies she would spin. My first step was to secure my financial affairs, transferring funds, closing accounts, and the like. I kept my primary Visa card active, but slashed the limit to $2,500 to mitigate potential damage. Emily remained oblivious to my mounting anger and didn't notice any changes. I confirmed with my lawyer that since the house was mine before the marriage, I wouldn't be forced to leave when I filed for divorce. Naturally, I drafted an email containing videos, texts, and photos that I eventually sent to all her contacts, friends, family, and co-workers. I also prepared duplicate binders from my personal account for Mrs. Spencer and Mrs. Scott, ensuring they would share in their husband's disgrace. These would be delivered simultaneously with the legal notifications and filings. I instructed my lawyer to prepare for public civil lawsuits against both Andrew, her boss, and Mark, the company's CEO. Given the company's prominence on the East Coast, my lawyer relished the prospect of involving the CEO. We planned to propose a settlement before unveiling the CEO and manager's misconduct. Collaborating with child services attorneys, we aimed for full custody of the girls and diligently compiled documents for the investigation. Over the ensuing weeks, everything appeared normal. We tended to the children and spent quality time together daily. Our conversations skirted around the elephant in the room, leaving the issue untouched. My silence drove her to the brink of madness. The uncertainty of my thoughts must have been tormenting her. To further toy with Emily, I posed a few probing questions. So, Emily, has your boss taken any action against you since the fair? Is there something you'd like to share? Armed with insights from her conversations with Andrew, I marveled at her composure in maintaining her facade. It was amusing to observe her reaction, and I could even predict when she was about to lie. She responded calmly, stating that nothing had happened, and everything felt odd because both of us were pretending nothing had transpired. In reality, he remained completely professional, and our interactions were minimal due to our busy schedules, she claimed. I sat there with a wry smile, still astonished that the woman who bore my children and whom I loved could lie so effortlessly. That night, I released the last remnants of anger simmering within me. I confronted her and took full advantage of her vulnerability. "Oh my God, Michael, what got into you? You're behaving so wildly today. I've never seen you so bold and uninhibited. I enjoyed it," she exclaimed, breathless. What a whirlwind, I thought to myself. I knew this would be our final encounter before everything surfaced the next day, and I intended to make the most of it. The next afternoon, the sheriff entered the office of Tricom International and requested to see Mr. Spencer. Moments later, Sheriff Clark handed him an envelope. "Mr. Spencer, you've been served." Alone in his spacious office, Spencer clutched the envelope, fear gripping his entire being. After reading the complaint repeatedly, he promptly instructed his secretary to summon Mark to his office while simultaneously calling him. Mark, too, had just been served by the same sheriff. He rushed into Spencer's office, and they both stood there, stunned and bewildered. "What the hell? How did this happen?" Mark demanded. "If my wife catches wind of this, I'm finished. This is on you. You assured me this woman would never leave us. Fix this, Mark, or I swear I'll ruin you and your family. Do you understand?" Spencer threatened, his voice cold and menacing. Andrew hurried out of the office, waiting for the elevator to descend to the 12th floor. Intending to speak with Emily, he noticed the sheriff approaching from the opposite direction, indicating that he had come from Emily's direction. Bursting into her office, he found her seated at her desk, tears streaming down her face. Overwhelmed with emotion, she was unable to speak. Michael had shattered her world, much like she had done to him months earlier. It took her more than an hour to compose herself enough to articulate her thoughts. "What in the world happened?" she whispered, her voice trembling. "How did he find out about everything?" Emily's voice trembled with panic. Andrew's face was pale. "I've just been served with divorce papers," he said grimly. "What do you mean us?" Emily's confusion was palpable. "Spencer and I are being sued and facing a civil lawsuit for our actions. We don't know the full extent of the evidence, but it must be more than just the photos you saw. You have to convince Michael to back off, or Spencer will destroy us." "Hell ruin my family," Andrew said, desperation creeping into his voice. "Oh my God, this is terrible," Emily whispered, feeling the weight of the situation bearing down on her. "It's beyond terrible. You have to go to him and make him see reason. Do whatever it takes to stop this. Head home and confront him. Call me tonight if you can and keep me informed." Shaking, Emily packed her belongings and drove home, her mind racing. Her beloved husband and the father of her children was divorcing her. She didn't want a divorce. She genuinely loved Michael, but she had been unable to resist the allure of her affair. She needed to make Michael understand that she couldn't bear to lose him over this. Arriving at an empty house, she found the girls at Michael's sister's house, as they were every afternoon while she and Michael worked. She called Michael's sister, requesting she keep the children overnight. Sarah, without asking questions, agreed. Emily showered, styled her hair, did her makeup, and waited anxiously for Michael to return from work. At 6 o'clock, she heard the garage door open and braced herself for his entrance. "Hi, Emily. Didn't expect to see you tonight. Thought you'd be with Andrew." "Oh, wait. He's married with kids. This might get awkward," Michael said, his voice laced with sarcasm. "Michael, please, can we talk?" Emily pleaded, taking his hand and leading him to the sofa. Despite the tension, she tried to appear calm and composed. "Michael, I was served today, and I understand you're angry, but I don't want a divorce. I need you and I love you. I won't sign these papers. Andrew means nothing to me. Yes, we had sex, but it wasn't love. I just needed it, and I'm truly sorry. I'll never do it again, I promise." "Oh, you promise? That's reassuring. Let's just forget everything and go back to normal," Michael replied, a mocking smile on his face. Emily embraced him and kissed him. "Thank you, baby. I love you so much. I'm grateful you forgive me and understand. I won't lie to you again," she said, her voice shaking. Michael gently pushed her away. "You're delusional if you think I can trust you again. After all your lies and deceit, there's nothing left. I gave you many chances, but you kept lying, deceiving me, and ruining our lives. I know all about your daily hotel rendezvous with your bosses. Did you really think I'd take you back after all this? Have you even considered the damage you're causing to the girls? I can't just ignore this." "But why go after Spencer and Andrew?" she asked, tears streaming down her face. "Because they're part of this mess. They're CEOs of a multi-billion-dollar company. Once I'm out of here, I'll need money to support the girls properly. Since they're partly responsible for destroying our marriage and my life, I'll destroy them too. I plan to dismantle their families, hit them financially, and use them the way they used you." Emily had never seen Michael this intense and focused. The seriousness of the situation hit her hard. She realized she had lost control over both the situation and her husband. All she could do now was plead. Kneeling before Michael, she clutched his legs, begging for forgiveness. Michael felt a pang of sympathy, but his anger overpowered any compassion. He lifted her onto the sofa, speaking to her as if she were a child. "Listen, Emily, pack your bag and stay at your mom's for a few nights. Get a lawyer, then we can arrange a meeting to discuss everything. In the meantime, stay away from Mark and Andrew. Things are about to get messy." Later that evening at her mom's, Emily explained that she and Michael had a disagreement and she needed to stay with her for a while. At 11 p.m., she called Andrew on his cell. Andrew quickly looped in Mark on a three-way call. "Mark, are you here? Emily, are you there?" Andrew's voice was tense. Yes, we're here," they both replied. Spencer's voice was cold. "So, Emily, did you manage to persuade him to drop the lawsuits and the divorce?" "No. In fact, he kicked me out and warned me that this could lead to serious trouble," she admitted, her voice breaking. Spencer exploded. "Jesus Christ, Andrew! What have you done? Emily, if my wife finds out about this, I'm finished. You need to fix this, or I swear I'll ruin you both. I don't care what it takes. Make it stop." Emily cried harder. "I can't do anything. He's out of control and won't listen to me. He won't even answer my calls or texts." Spencer's voice was steely. "Andrew, you need to fix this. Set up a meeting with Michael. We'll meet somewhere loud and public. Emily, you will be there too. Ask him to drop the lawsuit in front of us. If he refuses, will explain how damaging this could be for him and his family. I have people who can handle situations like this, and I won't hesitate to use them to keep this from turning into a disaster. Do you understand what you need to do? Yes, Mr. Spencer, Andrew replied, his voice shaking. Emily, you know what you have to do, right? Yes, Mr. Spencer, she whispered. Then make it happen tomorrow afternoon. We don't have time to waste, Spencer ordered before abruptly ending the call. Emily and Andrew hung up, both considering the gravity of the situation. That night, Michael listened to the recorded call, unsurprised by their desperation. He began devising his own plan. The next morning, as expected, Andrew called to arrange a settlement meeting. They agreed to meet at 6 p.m. in a crowded courtyard. At 4 p.m., Michael met with his private investigator, preparing for the meeting. They used state-of-the-art technology with noise cancellation to capture clear sound even in noisy environments. A private investigator would also be present to film the meeting as evidence. Michael arrived at 6:15, deliberately keeping them waiting to allow time for the private investigator to set up his video equipment. As he approached the group, he saw Emily looking nervous. Emily, he greeted her, his voice calm but firm. Michael walked into the meeting, his gaze cold and unyielding. I'm surprised to see you all here together, but I guess we know where your allegiances lie. What brings us together? Mark Spencer cleared his throat. Michael, I'm Mark Spencer. I requested this meeting. Michael's eyes narrowed. Spencer, you look different in person. These videos don't do you justice. Can't say it's a pleasure to meet you. Andrew Scott stood beside Spencer, shifting uncomfortably. Michael's gaze was unforgiving. Andrew, the man who slept with my wife and destroyed my marriage. Can't say it's a pleasure to meet either of you. Spencer, trying to stay composed, spoke up. I understand your anger. If I were in your shoes, I don't know how I'd react. But we need to talk. Follow me. Michael didn't move. What's on your mind? Spencer took a deep breath. We want you to drop the lawsuits against me, Andrew, and the company. Michael chuckled darkly. Is that all? No, sorry. Someone has to pay for taking away the most important thing in my life. He glanced at Emily, who was now crying silently. The only woman I ever loved and the mother of my children. Spencer's expression hardened. What will it take for you to drop this and take Emily back? Name your price. Michael shook his head slowly. No amount of money will make me take her back. She betrayed my love, trust, and our children's lives for a fling with you two. It's out of the question. I'll drop the lawsuits under two conditions. First, I want $5 million. Second, I want to meet both your wives, and Emily must admit everything. If you agree, I'll end the legal proceedings. Spencer's face twisted with anger. Go to hell, Michael. I'll offer you $100,000, and you'll sign an agreement to keep this quiet forever. Michael smiled, amused by the pitiful offer. I'll reduce it to $4 million, but your families must know what you did. Spencer lost his temper. Michael, you're sealing your fate. Think it over. Drop the charges and take Emily back. It was just a fling. We can resolve this. Michael pulled out his phone and sent a few text messages. Then he accessed his email and dispatched a prearranged message containing all the incriminating evidence, videos, images, and texts, to Emily's friends, family, and colleagues. He had also arranged for couriers to deliver packages to Mark and Andrew's homes, ensuring their families would see the evidence too. Spencer's face went pale with rage. Michael, are you even listening? What's your response? Are you dropping the charges? Michael looked directly at him. My answer to you, Mark, Andrew, and my wife is go to hell. Just then, Mark and Andrew's phones began to ring. It was their wives. Spencer's face contorted in fury as he shot Michael a murderous glare. Andrew, visibly shaking, looked like he might collapse. Emily, confused, asked Michael what was happening. Michael's response was cold. Check your email in a few minutes and you'll understand. After ending the call with his wife, Spencer pointed an accusatory finger at Michael. You're dead, Michael. I'll make sure you suffer for this. With that, he stormed out of the bar. Andrew confronted Michael, his voice trembling. Why? Why would you do this to me? Michael was incredulous. Seriously? You've been using my wife, the love of my life, and the mother of my children for months, arranging your little escapades with Spencer, and you're surprised someone would retaliate? Everything I sent to your wife was to expose what a despicable person you are, and how you've ruined lives. Emily's phone began to ring as her family and friends called her one after another. Initially, she denied everything, but when she checked her email, she saw the evidence Michael had sent. Her jaw dropped, and she turned to Michael with a look of fury. "How could you do this to me?" she demanded. Michael's voice was cold. "You made it too easy. I truly loved you, but it's over. After I hand this audio recording of the meeting to the authorities and social services, my lawyer is confident I'll get full custody of the girls. You will be lucky to avoid jail time. I'm sorry, but you must face the consequences of your actions." Tricom settled the lawsuit by compensating Michael with $2 million. Mark Spencer was ousted as CEO and terminated without severance for breaching the morals clause in his contract. He lost over $10 million in stock options and a $5 million severance package. Spencer also received a 5-year prison sentence for conspiracy to commit homicide and other charges. His wife divorced him while he was incarcerated, and an investigation into his business dealings left him penniless. This news provided Michael with some solace, and he smiled for the first time in months. Mrs. Scott also divorced Andrew, leaving him without money, shelter, or support. He was fined $1 million in a civil trial for conspiracy, infidelity, and loss of affection. After losing his job, Andrew resorted to working as a day laborer. Michael took grim satisfaction in Andrew's downfall, knowing he was now living in poverty. Emily received a 5-year prison sentence, but with Michael's help, it was commuted to 1 year of house arrest, followed by 4 years of probation for conspiracy. She lost custody of the children, and Michael gained full custody. Despite her efforts, she failed to secure a divorce due to the overwhelming evidence against her. With the house belonging to Michael, she found herself homeless upon her release. She fell into a deep depression and now lives in her mother's basement. Her family turned against her, resulting in the loss of her visitation rights with her children. The email Michael sent exposed a dark side of Emily that no one had seen before, shattering her support network. Forgiveness seems unattainable for Emily, even from herself. She relies on medication following multiple suicide attempts and has been in and out of mental hospitals for months, struggling to come to terms with the lives she destroyed. Michael now dedicates all his time to his daughters. Being free from work post-divorce allows him to focus entirely on raising his children. Since Emily's suicide attempts, the girls have not seen their mother, but they receive ample support from Michael's sister and mother. They will recover from this traumatic ordeal without lasting effects. While revenge brought Michael a fleeting sense of satisfaction, it cannot fully heal his wounds. He still harbors love and forgiveness for Emily, but the memory of her betrayal remains etched in his mind. Taking care of his daughters keeps him occupied and wards off loneliness. However, due to the betrayal, lies, and deceit, it will take years before Michael can open his heart to love and trust again.